Welcome into the college basketball and my best bets of the day. Today, we're going to be looking at a couple games, and we're going to start with my opinion, which is going to be on a team total, and we're going to look to the ACC here. So, we're going to look to Syracuse taking on Virginia Tech, and we are going to look at Syracuse's team total over 77.5. So, Syracuse on offense at home this season, they're averaging 78.3 points per game in conference play in their home stadium. Now, that's right at this number. 77.5 is what we have to go over to win this bet. But if you look at how their season has gone, they struggled early on in conference play quite a bit, and they've gotten a lot better as of late. In their last 5 home ACC games, 4 of them have gone over this total, and they're averaging 82.5 points per game, which is 5 more than we need in tonight's game. And then you look at Virginia Tech's defense on the road. Overall in conference play, Virginia Tech has allowed this number to go over 77.5, 6 of their 8 outings. They've given up an average of 79.6 points per game on the road. But once again, when you look like Syracuse at their more recent outings in their past 5 road games, they have allowed this number to go over 77.5 4 of the 5 times. They've given up an average of 81.8 points per game in those 4 games. And the one game that did not go over was right at 74. So it was right there. So just in terms of the numbers, I think we're skewed here on this number in terms of the season-long metrics. In reality, looking at how these teams have played as of late, at home and on the road, I think this number is a touch low. Again, if you look at the season-long numbers for these two teams, like shooting-wise and defensively, it's not the most favorable matchup. For example, you look at Syracuse's offensive ratings, their effective field goal percentage is just 50.5%. That's good for 184th in the country. And their three-point field goal percentage is just 33.1%. That's 214th in the country out of 362 teams. But what about in home conference games? Well, overall, if you take Syracuse, including the early struggles in ACC play, and you look at their home conference games, they're shooting 35.6% from downtown, which is good for 80th in the country, which is, top 4th in the country compared to 184th. It's 100 ranks better. So they shoot significantly better at home since playing ACC competition. Then you look at their last 5 home games. They've been fantastic in their last 5 home games. 40.6% from 3. That would be good for second in the country if you're looking at season-long metrics. Obviously, small sample size, but again, when you extrapolate it out to the whole entirety of ACC play at home, they still shoot it pretty well. So it's not out of the realm of possibility to think we could see that tonight. We see the same thing for their effective field goal percentage, right? They're 214th on the season. Their last 5 home games, 58.1% would be good for third in the country. So shooting the ball a lot better as of late, especially at home. Then you look at Virginia Tech's defense in general. Their three-point defense is just not very good. They allow 33.8% to be hit from beyond the arc. That's 184th in the country defensively. Their effective field goal percentage isn't much better, 175th in the country out of 362 qualifying teams. All those numbers get worse on the road. But more importantly, the thing that they struggle with the most defensively is their ability to protect the rim and keep the ball in front of them against athletic guards. We saw it against Duke. Duke torched them at home. They could not stay in front of Roach. They couldn't stay in front of Jared McCain. Everybody was going past them. Then you look at UNC when they played UNC a couple weeks ago. Gave up in the 90s, right? Quick athletic guards. Well, what does Syracuse have? Quick athletic guards who can finish at the rim. So I think they're going to have a field day getting to the basket, getting easy shots at the rim. And then Virginia Tech doesn't have a rim protector. They don't have a good defensive center. They're one of the worst teams in the country protecting the rim, both from a driving perspective and a back to the basket post up perspective, because they don't have anybody in there to block shots. Their backup big is horrific. So, they split minutes about 25-15 roughly between the starting and backup big man. So I think we're going to see a lot of easy opportunities at the rim. I think we're going to see a lot of good looks from 3 for Syracuse. I think this is going to be an up and down game. When you look at the tempo of these two teams, right? Syracuse, 48th in the country in terms of average or number of possessions per game. and then 37th in the country in adjusted tempo. So they want to play fast. Virginia Tech doesn't, but they're not super slow. They're 168th in adjusted tempo. That's a little bit above average in Division One. It's about 40-ish percentile. So they're not going to play super fast. But like I said, on the road defensively, they've just been not good. And if Syracuse is able to get a lead early, I think this could be a really up and down game. That's exactly what happened in their last home outing against a Notre Dame team that's not the most explosive offensive team. And that game ended 88-85 because Syracuse got out to a big lead. It went up and down. Syracuse's defense is not good. So it's not like they're going to be drawing Virginia Tech into these long possessions. I think this is going to be a high-scoring game in general. I think this game probably goes over the total in general overall, but the reason I like Syracuse team total is because I think in order for the game to go over that total of 156, you're going to need to see Syracuse go over their team total. I don't think this would go over with just Virginia Tech going over theirs, because I think this is going to be a very tight game. If Syracuse was to blow them out, though, this could go under the total, and Syracuse could still go over. So that's my reasoning for taking Syracuse's team total and not the game over. So that is my free play of the day. Quickly going to give you my two best bets. These are posted on the website as well, www.dillonleaguesports.com. So go check that out. We're going to look to another total here, and we're going to look to Mississippi State and Kentucky under 156. Now, I don't love taking totals in college basketball, and I'm taking 2 tonight just because my number was that far off on these two numbers. I like these totals because I made these numbers significantly higher on this one and lower on the team total. You look at Mississippi State, they're 9th in the country in defensive efficiency. They also play at one of the slowest paces in the country. They are 238th in their average length of possession, and they're 178th in adjusted tempo. So they want to play very slow. They want to hang their hat on their defense. They want to make this a grinded out game. They know going into this matchup against Kentucky, who's one of the most explosive offenses in the country, they know that if this game becomes a track meet, they have no chance. So everything they do tonight is going to be to slow this game down. I think the matchup is relatively favorable as well. The first time these two teams played in Rupp Arena, the game went over this by 11 points. 167 is what it hit. But I believe this total is still a touch low because Kentucky's actually played better defense as of late, surprisingly. And I know that's weird to say when they just gave up 95 points to Alabama, but that was a track meet from the start. That's how Kentucky wanted to play that game. I think when you look at the entirety of the body of work the last 5 games, they have played much better defensively. They held Auburn to a pretty good low number on the road. They even in that Alabama game, they played stretches where they looked really, really good defensively, which is, again, shocking to say if you really look at that last number. But there were 2 different stretches in that game where over a 7-minute span, Alabama scored a total of 7 points in each of those spans. So they did a good job through stretches. It was such a high-scoring game, and Alabama scored so many points in garbage time that number is a bit skewed, right? You look at their totals, their last 3 games, they've all gone under this before Alabama. At LSU was 75-74. At Auburn was 70-59. Versus Ole Miss was 75-63. So we've seen them be a little bit lower in terms of total points in the last 3 outings, with the exception of Alabama. And like I said, I think they played better than the numbers show in that game. In that game, Alabama wanted to run too, right? Like, this game is going to be completely different in terms of the style of play. Mississippi State's going to be slowing it down as much as they possibly can. So best bet number 1, we're going to go with Mississippi State, Kentucky under 156. Try to find the best number out there. I got it at 156, which I saw 156.5 pretty. It was there before, right before I took it, and then it dropped to 156. So still like it up to 155.5. Our second best bet, we are going to go to the ACC again, and we're going to take Wake Forest we're going to take Notre Dame plus the 6.5. Notre Dame has been improving very steadily this season. They've gotten better and better as the season has gone on. They've actually won 3 of their last 4 games. They were on a 3-game winning streak until they lost to Syracuse on Saturday. In that game, Notre Dame got down 25, and they don't have anything to play for, right? They're not an NCAA tournament team, but they still found a way to bounce back and fight back and get into that game. They only lost by 3. They covered the spread after being down 25 in the second half. So, that would have been a really easy spot for the Irish to lay down with nothing to play for, down 25 against the Syracuse team that's shooting the ball really well and scoring the ball really well. But they play hard, right? They play hard. They're aggressive, and they play better at home. They've played some really good teams, pretty good at home in spots. And then you look at Wake Forest. They're a sieve on the road. They have been terrible. 6 of their last 7 they've lost outright. They are 2-6 overall in ACC play on the road. And this is a massive, massive letdown spot for them. They played Duke at home on Saturday. High emotional game playing this, the highest ranked team in the ACC. They have to win the game to get into the NCAA tournament is what it feels like. And they do. And then the court storming and the whole controversy afterwards and how everybody's talking about them. Now they got to go on the road to Notre Dame versus a team who, on first glance is a team you think you should beat relatively easily. This is a tough spot. And we've seen these type of spots not trend well for teams in that letdown spot. We saw it on Saturday with Washington State, right? They got a huge, huge program-defining win at Arizona early in the week. Looked like a team was going to be a top 4 seed. They come back on Saturday to take on a team with a losing record in Arizona State, and they lose the game outright as 5.5-point favorites. So very, very similar spot here. We've seen this spot happen over and over this year, and it feels like if you've bet that team playing against the team in a letdown spot, you've cashed 70-80% of the tickets. So we're going to ride with the home team, the Wake Forest Demon Deacons. Give me the Deeks, baby, plus the 6.5. That's my second best bet. So again, 3 picks. We had an opinion to start. That's my free play of the day on Syracuse team total over 77.5. Then we went ahead and took under in the Mississippi State-Kentucky game. And then we are going to take the 6.5 points with Notre Dame at home, the 6.5-point home underdog here tonight. Those are my plays for you. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, smash that like button, hit subscribe, follow all of our content on the Slobberknocker Sports Network, and check out our full podcast. We're shooting a new episode tomorrow. That should be out tomorrow night or Thursday morning. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you next time.